Hi, everyone. An absolute delight to host you all this afternoon for the next couple of hours, to turn the beach house blue, and to host a number of sessions. Myself, Bram Wellerman, Mike Law are going to be hosting a number of sessions this afternoon. We've got some cocktails and some drinks, some networking. So really excited to have you all here. So Carat is a very special part of Dentsu. We've got lots of our teams here, we've got lots of our clients who know and feel that. Carat was the very first media agency, we pioneered the sector. So a group that is all about innovating to impact, we play a really big role in making sure that we are at the center of that belief and that vision. And from a media planning perspective, much of the innovation that you see and feel around the group came from Carat and pioneered within Carat. And I have the great privilege of bringing to you today a new innovation that we have been pioneering. And that is the Brand Reset Study, which is a study that we've just kicked off. Actually, we kicked off quite a while ago. We've just got some of the insights through from, which is helping our clients understand the opportunities that exist with next generation video. So we're into the second day of our programming here in the Beach House. You will hear everybody at Dentsu consistently talking about this belief we all share that we are now in the third era of advertising, the algorithmic era, which has AI sitting at the heart of that. And what this really means for people and for media planning are a number of things, but really there are two things that we think are really central and questions that we seek to answer. And the first is the consolidation of people's behavior, how quickly people move from culture into commerce. And as we all know, we're an agency that's been talking about attention now for a number of years. That attention game is getting harder and harder as more and more content is coming into the ecosystem. And people's relationship with video has changed, right? It's multicast. If I think about my own experience with video and how that's changed over the last few years, my phone reminds me on a weekly basis how many hours I'm spending consuming influencer content. And yes, some of that is because I'm trying to stay cool with my teenage girls. But it really is like super addictive and super valuable, super useful, super entertaining. And I had a moment last week where my 17-year-old FaceTimed me and she said, Mum, Norma has passed away. I thought initially, I was like, Norma, who's she talking about? Who's Norma? And then I realized, Jess and Norma, anybody from TikTok here? No? Jess and Norma are some influencers on TikTok in the UK. They are a grandmother and granddaughter, and it's all about her journey and how she cares for her grandmother. And Norma had sadly passed away. And my daughter then said to me, Mum, are you crying? And no, I'm not. She put down the phone. I absolutely sobbed. And I mean sobbed like I sobbed the first time I watched them put the dog down in Old Yeller. Like, that is the power now of some of this content. And, Les Binet, the godfather of marketing effectiveness, he's been a real follower, actually, of this work. If we've been starting to talk about it, he's absolutely right there when he says nothing sells like emotion and nothing generates emotion like video. But video is changing within the algorithmic era. Video is tunneling through the funnel, is a phrase that we like to use. It's delivering both brand and performance. It can be setting you into a really relevant cultural context in 1 second and a click away, be building a commerce transaction, or sometimes the other way around. So it's become increasingly complex to navigate the video landscape. And we do a survey every 12 months. We do a CMO survey, 950 CMOs around the world. And there was a lot of comments and questions that came through in this survey about next generation video. Over half of them wanting to know whether it is as effective as linear television, wanting to understand more about it in their organization. They don't understand the landscape. They don't know which channels and which formats to be investing in. So these were the questions that we seek to answer with Brand Reset. And it's Carat, in case everybody missed it. We'll bring that QR code up at the end. So as you can see, it's a substantial study, 40,000, all of the powerhouse platforms involved in this, as well as our partners from Kantar, Brand Z, and Lumen. So we're really, really excited about it. As I say, we've just got some of the fieldwork back, so I'm able to share with you a little bit of a trailer to the movie that's going to come and some of the preliminary insights that we're seeing from a planning perspective. So the number one, I think back to that question that came out so clearly in our CMO survey, is next-gen video as good at driving long-term as linear TV? And the playing field is definitely leveling. 5% behind the 8% that linear TV is driving. So really interesting. The second thing is, I'm sure everybody in this room is like, that 5-10 seconds of attention, is it really going to drive long-term sales? Yes, it is. That we are seeing that is enough attention to move the needle on long-term sales. And then finally, we get a lot of questions from our clients about mid-funnel, the messy middle and how to invest, particularly within that space. What we are seeing here is that actually next-gen video, and particularly formats at 10 seconds, is driving people through the funnel and is a faster path to growth. So just a few key insights there from the survey. There'll be much more to come. So what's next? As I said, we're updating all of our planning principles for the clients that work with us. We'll be updating all of our playbooks and all of our planning frameworks. We're going to be building these. All of this data will flow through into our planning system, so building an outcomes-based algorithm to make sure that sits at the heart of our planning, and then obviously updating our proprietary attention models from an activation perspective. So that's Brands Reset. Much more to come. The QR code here, we've got some of the team also here for the drinks today. If you have more questions, we want to dig into some of the detail. But for now, I'm excited to hand over to Bram Wellerman, who is our Global Head of Strategy at Carat. Over to you, Bram.
Thank you, Fiona. Let's see if this one works. It does. Hello, friends. How are you doing today? Look at all your wonderful faces. We've got an absolutely staggering array of talent wheeling out of that little air-conditioned room. I know we're all jealous of the fact there's air conditioning in there, but lots of really interesting people are going to come out in a second. We're going to try and change this over a little bit, so we actually have some seats here. So a little bit later, we've got Mike Law talking to, for example, Questlove. When those guys come out later, you're going to have to do better than that, I think. We've got Josh Duhamel here. We've got lots of really interesting folks here. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking while I get in the way, which is my usual kind of modus operandi. I like this, it's good. We're going to talk about the four corners of modern video. And the people that are going to join me here today, we're very lucky to have Haley Khalil here, who's a very, very popular YouTube creator, many millions of subscribers. We've got Tara Wolpert-Levy, who's going to join us shortly. We've got Jia Hyun from LinkedIn, who's going to join us. We've got Luis Barros, twice Cannes Marketer of the Year, joining us from Channel Factory. And we're going to have a good little chat about this. So, guys, I think we might be ready. Also, who here is actually drinking the blue drink? Is it any good? Okay. I really hope there's some left over a little bit later, because that looks interesting. Cool. Team, please join me in welcoming Haley, Tara, Gia, and Luis to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to sit in the middle? Great.
All right, fantastic. I'm going to perch myself on the edge here. Cool. So, team, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today. We really appreciate it. We're going to just dive straight in, if you don't mind. So, video marketing, as we all know, has evolved quite dramatically, right? The landscape is shifting underneath our very feet. We're going from 30-second TV spots to 15-second TikToks to hour-long YouTube podcasts. And creator-led video is now effectively projected to out-earn traditional TV advertising, like out-earn TV. So each of you represents a different kind of corner of that ecosystem. In one sentence, which is always a tough question, but in one sentence, what's the biggest shift that you've seen in how video drives business results? I'm going to start here and I'm going to go that way.
Video is an amazing format to build brands, to tell stories. Creators started to tell their own stories, and it was a dramatic shift on power, right? Because before, if you wanted to tell a story, to build an audience, you needed to be a big broadcaster. You have very few big broadcasters. Now anyone can create their own content, extremely high quality or extremely simple, or a mashup, or using AI. But the fragmentation of content, but especially the ability of anyone to become their own platform, it's pretty unique and makes some seismic changes on advertising especially.
Gia, what do you think?
I mean, largely demographic shifts is a forcing function. How many Gen Zs in the audience? And
any Gen Zs in the
Gen
house?
Zs, millennials? You could admit it to it.
Oh, there we go.
I mean,
we've got a couple. Excellent.
Gen Zs are the fastest growing membership on LinkedIn. 70% year-over-year growth. And over 60% of business decision makers now are Gen Z or millennial. And video is their preferred native format, particularly for brand building, for upper funnel, mid funnel awareness and consideration. So, yeah, it's
Demographic shifts. Excellent. Got you. Tara.
I'd say creators are supercharging results and AI is supercharging creative. It's still one sentence if you have an and.
That's pretty good. I like that. Thank you.
And from creators' perspective, people crave authenticity, and creators hopefully bring that into the digital space.
Excellent. It's almost as if you teed me up for my next question, Haley. So you've had a really, really interesting career trajectory, right? You went from being a wildly successful model to creating content that generates millions of views on a daily. So when brands partner with you, from where you stand, what are they really buying? Are they buying reach? Are they buying authenticity? Or are both those terms, do they not do justice to what you do? Is it something else entirely?
Yeah, they're almost buying into being a part of my brand the same way I'm being a part of their brand. Okay. So what I've built is a platform where I feel like I have a group chat with all of my girls, all of my guys, and I hope it's a place where everyone feels comfortable and feels like they can trust the things that I say about the products that I use. So they're buying into my brand the same way I'm buying into theirs, and every brand is different. Some people want reach, some people might want link clicks, some people might want just the exposure of maybe for a new product. Completely depends on the brand, but it's basically brands just joining together. I have a brand and they have a brand.
So it's kind of a sense of belonging rather than just, quote unquote, just authenticity.
Absolutely, it's always collaborative.
Interesting. Tara, just to follow up on that. So obviously YouTube now spans many, many different formats. Right? Long form, shorts, live, CTV, you name it. You've got over 2 million creators enrolled in your partner program. So from where you stand, how are brands rethinking their approach to creator partnerships versus, more traditional advertising? What are you seeing behind the scenes of that program?
And we're seeing a couple things, right? So first of all, within a more traditional construct, we're seeing brands really embrace the power that the creators bring in their ads as well as in their content. So I think people are starting to see and fully accept that the results are almost always meaningfully better if the ad is created, involved, et cetera, from a creator. So we're seeing a lot more of that. We see that coming through in creator and partnership ads. In terms of brand partnerships with creators, I'd say we're seeing sort of both breadth and depth. So we have a lot of brands that are interested in having a much bigger roster of creator partnerships than they ever have before, and working with us to figure out how do you do that at scale effectively but also efficiently. It's not always as easy, and we're working to make that so. And then depth, right? So historically, some of the relationships have been a little bit more transactional in nature, right? It's for a particular promotion, a particular product, a particular deal. And we're seeing more and more really big integrated partnerships between brands and a roster of creators who are working with them not just even across formats, but out into offline events, all of the various things that go with that. So we're incredibly excited. I think that's what culminates in, you've heard some of the big brands saying they're moving up to 50% of their spend into influencer marketing. which is an aspiration. It's not yet a reality, but we think it's an absolute signal of where the world is going, and rightly so.
It's really interesting you say that, because as part of that 50% spend on social and on creators, and like, I think that same big brand is saying we're going to like increase the number of influencers that we work with like 20-fold. But I think what's interesting in what both of you are saying here is that it seems to also be about how you develop entertainment properties, right? And I just want to ask both of you just a follow-up question on that. Because, Haley, you've been on record, apparently, officially, that creators will be the next people making A24 movies. Yeah. So how far away are we from that? And what needs to change from where you stand in order to make that work with the platforms?
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening. We had a actually a group of YouTubers that helped create A24's newest film from last summer, I believe. It was a horror film. So I think we're already seeing it. I mean, especially with the invention of AI, you're going to give creative people more tools to be creative without needing the money for production or the family ties and entertainment. You're giving people accessibility. So I really think you're going to continuously see that, and you're going to see it more and more and more and more as more creative people have access to those things.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And you're starting to see YouTubers referred to as the new Hollywood. You know, many of them have their own studios that rival those of the studios themselves, but frankly have a lot more speed and agility and ability to generate content. One of our big shorts creators, I don't know if this is, I think this is not public yet, so I won't name him, but one of our big shorts creators told me just last night that he's going to drop a 90-minute movie on YouTube in the coming months. Yeah, I mean, there are many examples like the one Haley cites, so I think we are at the cutting edge of that happening. But the trend is already here, and it's only going to build.
So I just want to press you on that a little bit, because I think that's obviously very interesting from where you guys sit as YouTube, right? Because you've fostered this ecosystem, this really rich ecosystem, giving lots of creators and influencers a really interesting platform. What do you think are the changes that you as a platform want to make in order to realize that type of future more effectively for more creators?
Well, our goal has always been the same, right? Which is to have as many creators as possible feel that YouTube is their home and that we are able to help them succeed in any creative endeavor that they have. So we've always approached it really from the lens of the creator and the creative process, which is just to say, do we have tools and support across the entire effort from inspiration to execution? And are we keeping them at the front of the curve in terms of any innovations that happen, whether that's format dependent, whether that's AI, whether that's resources, whether that's facilitating more in the community, the unique YouTube community, which I think is a big part of the sort of collaboration and marketing. So I don't know that we necessarily need something different to think about a longer format. If anything, it's sort of ironic. I was joking with someone the other day because I spent a decade of my life trying to convince brands that what we now call long form, but they then called short form, was actually video as they knew it. And now we're going around talking to folks about the short form, and they're like, well, but YouTube is such long form, so premium, so TV-like, can it really also be short? And our answer is always the same, which is YouTube is just where the world watches video. It does not matter whether it is in a short form or a movie.
Thanks so much. Very interesting. I have to resist the temptation to dive into how that works with entertainment studios and everything else. I'm going to try and do that.
Some of our biggest partners.
I bet. Yeah. Cool. So I want to just move on a little bit from the interaction between creators and platforms to what is happening in platform evolution, particularly format evolution. That's why we've got Gia here as well. Gia, obviously LinkedIn is really doubling down on video and has been for a little while now. You see a big opportunity there. I'm just reading off some numbers here, but video engagement increasing 36% year on year, I believe. Video ads driving 3 times more engagement than traditional formats. A lot of what you have to do is convince B2B marketers that B2B marketers are also people.
Yeah.
So how do you do this in video?
I mean, it's interesting. B2B marketers are people. We're in the business of people selling to other people. And there's been sort of an interesting notion over the years about how buttoned up and how intellectual and academic the content needed to be in order to resonate with a B2B buying audience. It's just not true. Because it turns out for every B2B buying decision, most people have already made up their minds in terms of what short list of brands they're going to consider when it comes to even beginning the buying process. So if you're just intellectually appealing based on product specs and webinars and white papers, you're not going to get to that place where you have that emotional resonance, where your brand is going to be top of mind that first day that buying journey begins. So I think it's important for every marketer to recognize that, and to recognize that you have to start communicating to potential buyers as emotional beings that really want authentic, trusted messages, that really want to hear directly from influencers with a capital IN, who are the executives, the thought leaders, who really are have the expertise and experience around the products and services that they're trying to sell, and tap into that. Yeah.
So professionals are people too.
Professionals are people too.
It's really interesting you say that, because obviously, like, recognizing that we are human beings in all our weird quirks in every single setting we find ourselves in, like, brings me relatively neatly, I think at least, also to what we were like briefly geeking out in the air conditioning about, which is the nature of context and the role that plays. Obviously, Louise, you guys at Channel Factory are really doubling down on understanding contextual relevance and how that helps and hinders and nudges in the right ways. Can you talk to us a little bit about how brands ensure that they find the right context for those messages and how important it is to do that?
Sure. I think one of the big misses that we faced in the industry when the fragmentation started and digital arose is, if you look at the 60s, the heads of media-owned agencies were reviewing every single piece of content before they went live to decide where to place their ads. Because it was not only about the alignment with the values of the brand, but also with the context where I want to put my message. And when we started to segment by audience, like maybe 20, 30 years ago, we kind of lost, we gained something very valuable on reaching the right people, the real consumers we want to reach, but we forgot about the context. So I was telling him an example. A year ago, I was buying a car. I had my repertoire of brands that I was looking after, but I watched a lot of review videos on YouTube. But I also watch other stuff on YouTube, right? I also watch tennis. I also watch videos with my kids. And I was being impacted by auto ads when I was watching a Mr. Beast video with my kids. And of course, I couldn't click. And of course, my kids were not very pleased about it. So using the tools and solutions like Channel Factory to make sure you can select the videos and the content that is aligned not only to your values, but to the buying context of consumers is extremely critical. We see an increase in ROI that sometimes goes up to 80% when you are placed not only for the right audience, but within the right context.
I think that notion of, yes, your audience is important, but it's not the only decision-making factor in how you place things. The context in which it shows up is a fascinating point to make.
And we are not in market all the time for all the categories, right? So having the right blend between top of the funnel and conversion, working with creators to make sure that you have the right endorsements and aligned with your brand values, this is critical. But also where you place your ads matters a lot. Matters for the brand because you are looking towards having a better ROI, better results, better brand building, but also matters for society. We want to make sure that we are boosting and enabling creators that brings positivity and good messages with monetization. And of course, YouTube is the house of billions and billions of videos every single day. And we need to make sure that we are allowing all voices to be heard, but also that our money is funding the right ones.
So you've got emotive beings in every single setting. You've got context and formats playing around. So I just want to bring this back to, I mean, Tara, like that gives us an incredibly complex, convoluted, difficult world to negotiate, right? So, like, what's your advice for how brands should make the most of this broad palette of different modern video options? Like, how do we negotiate the complexity?
Well, I do think that the AI innovation is making an enormous difference in putting a simplification layer over all of that complexity, such that ideally the brands can focus on what they've always loved most and sort of has made the most difference, which is the heart of the content and the creative idea, and how that ties into their product and their brand values and with whom they want to associate, what kind of halo they're looking for, and what kind of environment. And on the back end, we're trying to make everything else as easy as possible, right? So that's everything from, that solutions like Performance Max have been in market for a long time, which takes out some of the mystery of where do I put it, with whom, et cetera, and just optimizes for the best results. A lot of the creative tools are now doing the same thing, right? So even if you think about what we announced here this week without painting, right? It used to be, yes, we could optimize for shorts or long or whatever, we could make it sort of crop to the right size. But now, frankly, we take it as it is and fill in around it, right? I don't know if anyone saw it. Did anybody see the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere? Okay, you must check this out. Basically, the gist of it is we took this 1939 movie and brought it into 2025 by expanding around it. So, for example, like when you see the four of them march off toward the Wizard of Oz, you see the entire landscape because we're using AI to fill in around it. So it's just an example of where I think ideally more and more of that complexity is removed on the things that brands don't want to be spending their time on and where technology can differentiate. And they get to continue to differentiate on what they love best and are so genius at.
So, world of infinite opportunity there. That sounds good. Let's go there. I just want to kind of bring this back to a fairly age-old debate because, like, there's gold in the hills, right? But we still need to be able to get there. And Luis, obviously, like, you and ABMF, you were named Creative Marketer of the Year at Cannes twice. Just a nice little accomplishment. But how do we bring this into this still staggeringly continuing debate between brand building and performance marketing? Obviously, your view is brands don't have to choose. But how do we negotiate that continuing debate, particularly in the current climate of, ROI pressure everywhere?
Being extremely straightforward here, it's quite disappointing for me, to be honest, to see this debate happening in terms of performance or awareness marketing, because there's already a lot of science and evidence-based marketing information around, so people could make the right choices, right? We have, on average, only 5% of the people in market. If you stop investing on top of the funnel, first of all, if you stop investing in advertising, you're going to deteriorate your consumer base. There are proofs of many years about that.
Exactly.
But at the same time, if you only focus on performance marketing and don't do the top of the funnel, you end up doing the same, because you are not building a brand, you are converting whoever was going to convert anyway, and your cost of acquisition starts to rise over time. So you need to have a good blend and you need to have a good mix. You mentioned the Creative Marketer of the Year. When we got the first time at AB InBev, it was because during the pandemic, we established a new process where instead of putting millions and millions of dollars on every campaign we did, we started to iterate on very small campaigns. We didn't know how the audience was going to react during the pandemic to beer advertising. So basically what we decided to do was we granted not more than $100,000 for each experiment that we validated. We had a measurement system that if you reach the targets, the KPIs that we pre-established, we would get more money to scale. And thanks to that, we did, for example, in Brazil, 265 lives with artists on YouTube. We delivered 1 billion organic views. We were the largest event producer in the world in 2020, larger than Live Nation. At the same time, in Colombia, we had a big challenge that a lot of the mom and pop shops didn't have delivery systems. They didn't have something like DoorDash. So we created a solution that you could find the mom and pops closer to you. We gave them bikes so they could deliver at home of people. And this was one of the Grand Prix we got. So making sure you use technology and data to deliver solutions that are meaningful to clients. And of course, you give the right reach behind, you have the right endorsement behind, was what made us win like 50 Lions in a year and twice in a row the Creative Marketer.
It's not complicated, but it is hard.
Yeah, everything. You need to work hard if you want to achieve anything in life, right?
So, Haley, I just want to come back to you because you've been an incredibly effective brand builder, right? And you once said that, obviously in your line of work, like virality is fleeting, but community is forever. So how do you balance those two things? Like, what are the early signals that you use to tell whether something is going to like build your fandom or spike and flame out in 24 hours? Like, what do you look for?
Well, I'm chronically online. If anyone watches my content, they know that I do a lot of like cultural satire. So I know the algorithms kind of like the back of my own hand, right? So I can know very quickly just based on performance in the first 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, unless of course you're flagged or something's going on internally, how well a video is going to do. You can also tell in the comment section as well, the reposts, things like that. Just how excited people are, how many times it's been shared. So usually you'd look at like comments, shares, but for me, I'm so chronically online that I know, again, within the first 2 hours, just based on how the algorithm's performing.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily like reading tarot cards. You've got a very decent understanding of where things are going to go.
Yeah, if you spend about 12 hours a day on the internet like I do, you'll be able to read the algorithms totally fine. You'll know within the first 2 hours.
That's
You'll be like,
excellent
okay.
advice. 12 hours on the internet for everybody here. Cool. I've got one last question for all of you because we're being ushered off, which is always good. Waiting for the music to start playing. So, looking ahead, 12 to 18 months. In 12, we're back here, right? What's one trend in video marketing that you're most excited about, or that keeps you up at night? Gia, why don't you start?
I mean, back to your original point, I mean, creators and influencers. We're seeing a huge surge in creator activity on LinkedIn. We've always had influencers on LinkedIn, but creators that are being incredibly thoughtful about how they cultivate domain expertise and build communities around their domain expertise, and how that's impacting every brand's bottom line that decides to partner with these creators, because it is the most impactful way to build trust. It's the most impactful way to build relevance and that emotional resonance that we talked about. So I'm really excited about that. I think what keeps me up at night is that, I mean, there's a lot of B2B marketers for whom video storytelling, emotional storytelling, the creator universe is still really new. So we're taking a lot of baby steps. We're holding hands and being courageous together and diving into this world. And we're here to join you, Tara.
Tara, what do you think?
All right. Well, this will not be any shocker, but I guess I'll say I am most excited about AI and most worried about it. We were talking about backstage whether a friend of mine has said they're going to send me a film from the AI Film Festival that they don't think I will be able to tell. They're going to send a couple. They don't think I'll be able to tell which one is AI. We think we will, but I'm not sure about next year.
But that's because you're online 12 hours a day.
And that, I think, is both amazing and also, just something that we're always looking to put guardrails around.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what you said. I mean, it's AI. For me, I just hope that people use AI to supplement creativity instead of replace it. I hope that a lot of companies have been really heavily invested in AI and making new commercials out of AI and things like that. But I hope that it doesn't become like a norm to only use AI. I think the human touch is so important, but I think AI is so important as well. So I don't want it to go anywhere, but I also don't want it to be overused where we lose our creativity.
Luis, closing words.
I will also go with AI, but with a different twist. I think AI is going to be leveling the playing field. Everybody's going to have access, so performance is going to look very similar to all agencies when you talk about campaigns. The input that you give to AI is that's going to make the difference. Either the data or the human input on how you prompt the solutions, how you use your creativity to leverage AI to build stuff. So I think more and more the human aspect, the creativity, the innovation, the discipline to learn about what is out there and to deploy that, this is going to be the biggest difference because AI is going to make everyone very efficient and productive.
Next Gen Video for All. Team, please welcome me in thanking our panel here today. Thanks so much for your time, Tim. Really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to hand over to my friend and yours, Mike Law. Mike, are you anywhere here? Oh, we need to get a group photo. Oh, look at that. That's fun. He can be in a group photo.
How you doing, buddy? All right, guys. Last part. Here we go. Now the cool people are coming. And I didn't fall. All right, well, we are going to have one last part to this session. We're going to talk a lot about, in this, culture and the power of culture, how it comes to life and entertainment, how brands think about using it, and how we think it can drive and move business. Centerpiece of what we think about at Carat. So think the important people are going to make their way up here once the paparazzi stops talking to them. I didn't get stopped, but I guess they are getting stopped. Yeah, come on up. Come on up, guys. I've never instantaneously become the least cool person on a stage, but all good. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys all for being here today to be part of this amazing Carat event, and thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know that anybody needs introductions, but just in case, we've got Questlove here to talk a little bit about culture. This is the energy we like. I like it. We've got Josh Duhamel here.
Thank you.
And we've got Maggie Schmerin here from United Airlines. That might have been the loudest. Sorry, guys.
That's never happened.
Yeah, most famous person in advertising. These are your people.
Right,
These are your
exactly.
people. All right, well, I really appreciate you guys doing this. So what we wanted to do is just start a little bit. Would love maybe, Josh, if you don't mind going first. It's your first Cannes, you just told us. What have you loved about this week? What made you come here? And what is maybe a takeaway or two on that?
Yes, this is my first time here. They told me that this was an amazing event, and I don't think I quite understood what that meant. This has been an assault to the senses, the amount of information that I've taken in over the last couple of days. But it's, you know, it's the south of France. Everybody's got their pretty dresses on, drinking a little rosé. It could be a lot worse, right?
We're working hard, Josh.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
how many glasses of rosé?
We're working.
One of those things. Maggie, you've been here a few times.
Yeah.
What brings you back every year?
I think pound for pound, it's the best week in terms of spending your time. It's decision makers, it's senior people. You can get to a place of yes much quicker. I mean, we were joking backstage. For any of us to set up a meeting, it'd be 3 months from now, we'd talk once, we'd have to meet again. You can just move so much faster. The relationships that are forged here and forged this week have really been beneficial to United Airlines.
All right, amazing. Questlove, what brings you here? What do you love about it?
I will say that sort of I hate saying networking because it sounds so business-like, but really for me, sort of in person interacting is effective because especially with now, you know, and I'm guilty too. I've jumped in many a DM or text someone and conducted business, but sometimes you actually have to mix it up with people and be in their face in order to make an effective decision. You know, use your gut, and in order for culture and product to grow, this is the planting of the no seed reference, but this is the planting of the seed of it, and yeah, it's important.
Might be the counter argument to AI, the humanity that we need to have, the creativity that can be born out of even the conversation we just had for 5 minutes.
You need personal interaction and creativity to make anything grow, I believe. I mean, you can make anything a success, but will it sustain? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking just before we came out here that 3 or 4 years from now, we'll just send our avatar bots to come do it for us.
To rep us, yeah.
Actually, Josh is speaking on 7 panels right now. This is the real one, though. You think, we think, we're not sure. All right, so we're here to talk about culture. Maggie, I'm going to start with you. How do you define it? How do you think about it? I think it can be generational. It can be in the moment. Like, how do you think about culture, and then how do you amplify that inside of United? How do you try to take advantage of those moments to make United shine?
Well, I'm not just saying this, Mike, because you're my friend, but this is the panel I'm most excited to do because we love culture. We love pop culture at United. We live it. We breathe it. Our analogy that we go off of is it's basically the internet's dinner party conversation. And so what are people talking, just like you show up at a dinner party conversation, what's that tone? What are people talking about? And then as a brand, we really take our cues from that. None of us would go to a dinner, party and talk about ourselves 6 different times or take the topic, totally different, side of the conversation. And so we wake up every single day. There's always an airline angle to anything going on in the world, from sports and fun stuff all the way through to the geopolitical stuff. And so we think about, when should we insert the brand and also when not to insert the brand. I mean, that's the other big thing, when to be disciplined enough to say, this isn't the right moment for us.
Is there a channel where you think it comes to life more? Is it in social? Is it in traditional? Where do you see it come to life the most?
I definitely think on social. I mean, that's where it feels like all trends, the seeds are planted. But it's really different across each channel, and who our audience is on TikTok and what we might do there compared to an Instagram. LinkedIn is having a moment. I know they have a huge presence here. So it's been really fun to think about the right type of content, yeah.
And Josh, how do you think it's changed in your career from what went from kind of water cooler talk maybe the next day to now real-time social feedback? How does that change how you think about storytelling, the kind of projects you want to work on? How do you think that's changed in your career?
Well, I think just the way we consume entertainment has changed completely over the last 10 years. What I'm really, the part of the reason I'm here is because we have a creative production company, started in branded content, telling 30 to 90 second spots that were little mini stories. And what we've sort of evolved into is partnering with certain brands so that we shine a beautiful light on them while still telling the same story that we needed before. So, for example, we have a show about quarterback. I'm a big fan of sports, and I have a show about quarterbacks and how they're coming up through this system, through this quarterback whisperer, sort of shepherds these young men and their families into which quarterback or which school would be best for them, which school to transfer to through the portal, how much money they should get in the NI, all these kinds of things. And there's a huge opportunity for a show like that to partner with many brands. And we found that now more than ever, brands are looking to help subsidize the financing of something because it's a great way for them to, show off whatever brand they have and whatever messaging they want to get out there. So it's a mutually beneficial situation that's happening more and more, I found.
Yeah, I think it's great for brands to integrate, makes advertising less disruptive, makes people want to engage in the content, be attentive, and really think about that. All right, Questlove, you kind of omnipresent across culture, whether it's food, music, entertainment. What's been the key to that? Why do you think that, what's the power of culture in your brand? And how do you think that brands can take advantage of that?
I think for me personally, I kind of still have a non-cynic, curious child's mind about creativity. So when I first joined The Tonight Show in 2009, it was there that I realized that creativity was transferable. And I got to see, it's there where I get to hide out and watch Martha Stewart make sandwiches. I wonder what she's doing over there. Or, if you hang with any comedian, in the writer's room or when you go to open mic nights in New York, now that I'm immersed in that world, then I saw comedians think different and then hanging with a bunch of artists. And so I started to notice that creativity is transferable. I thought it was just exclusive. At least certain traits were just musicians only. And once I realized that, there's a certain method of thinking that we all apply to our creativity, then I started to wonder if the common person that's not in food or an author or a director or in engineering or do they apply it as well? And the answer is a resounding yes. So for me, I'm always curious I think everyone should pivot. If Miles Davis wasn't blowing his horn, he's doing artwork. Same with Joni Mitchell, pivot. And so I really started to take advantage of that around 2018, once movie offers came in, once, what I do now with the podcast and everything. And the thing is that I know I'm making it sound like, oh, just easy, just get another passion and start pursuing it. And a lot of us talk ourselves out of taking that step forward. So I'm just at a place now where I don't have a fear of failing or the imposter syndrome. So if it's something that has a creative element to it, I'm instantly there at the forefront to see what it's about.
How do you balance like the consistency of your brand, staying authentic to your brand while expanding across those new channels, trying to create new communities? How important is that to you, the authenticity of who you are, what you represent, the projects that you're doing?
I think in the beginning, because of my reputation as people like, oh, he's a know-it-all, savant of all music and all those things, I thought initially I had to be the person that studied, rigorously studied things and practice, 70,000 Gladwellian hours of perfection. Now, I kind of believe in the opposite. And if you look at most people in power, none of them went to, the people that are actually running in heads of things, half the time it isn't because they study. The thing that I study for, which is music and all that stuff, yes, it's still a passion of mine, and the roots are still making music and touring and all that stuff, but at least 80% of the things I'm doing now has nothing to do with any training. It's just literally getting over the fear of talking yourself out of it and just showing up. Oftentimes, if we just say, nah, it's not a good idea, you got to take time out to really immerse yourself and step up, just show up.
Maggie, how do you think about that? Maybe if I'm digesting what Questlove's saying, is just the speed. How do you make that decision? You came from a PR background, so how do you in real time decide safe, not safe, let's go for it? Because culture can move in minutes, and if you miss it, then the brand feels stale.
Yeah, totally.
So how do you make those decisions?
Yeah, I think a few examples come to mind. I mean, you have to move quick. If you're not moving quick, then you can't participate in pop culture. So I feel really bad when brands say, "Oh, I had to run this by my legal team." If that's your situation, then you're never going to be able to get there.
You say that again.
Right, exactly. So we have an amazing
joke.
We have an amazing relationship with our lawyers at United. We don't run anything by them on social. There are a few things we run by them, but if we had to, we wouldn't be able to do it. I think one of the best examples from this past year, so the Super Bowl, the halftime show, I think, the biggest moment probably to come out of that, Kendrick was kind of going around, pointing, walking in a circle. We were live within, I think, 3 minutes after the halftime show with a meme that said, that reminds us of waiting for our baggage claim, a way for an airline to participate. We got more views and more headlines out of that than if we would have spent $7 million on a 30-second TV commercial. But we didn't have time to debate, to think, and so we just had to go that we thought, we have a bunch of travelers that follow us on social media. This is our connection, back to that dinner party conversation. So social, you have to be really fast. But then I take something like the White Lotus. So in the past couple of weeks, actually, we've launched flights and will be launching flights to the last 2 destinations of season 2 and season 3. So Sicily, and then we have Thailand coming. That obviously takes a bit more time. You can't launch, a new route overnight, but we can stoke the flames. We've engaged with, that brand on social, and then made sure that we're really connected to that fan group to say, you can now easily get to Thailand, to Sicily, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's amazing being on both sides of the Super Bowl, seeing the way that our Kraft Heinz clients brought it to life, knowing that kind of the DJ Mustard moment would happen, and then sitting there, actually our chief investment officer in real time showed me the tweet going, look at what they just did. This is incredible. So seeing how brands try to anticipate and build in culture and then react to culture in that same 1 hour window was pretty amazing.
And not everything works, to your point. I mean, we've tried stuff. We often joke, We like to do cool shit and not get sued. We've had a cease and desist sent to us. And so, we took down that social post. We learned our lesson. We'll keep going. So you can't be so afraid. You just have to throw
You
a
got
bunch
a
at the
cease
wall.
and desist for what?
Not the Super Bowl one. Something else that, I can't talk about.
We won't talk about that.
They're going to come pull me up.
Now you got to tell us.
I'll tell you
Safe
backstage.
No, I won't. Josh, let's just talk a little. We got a lot of brands in the room. You said you're here to think about that. How do you like it when brands approach you and your production company? How do you think about approaching brands? What's the right balance of that?
Well, yes, we do approach. That's all we've done is approach brands. My partner's right over there in the hat. I can't usually find him. He's usually wandering around somewhere.
Talking to brands. I hope.
We've been hustling, man, for the last 5 years. We hustled all of our clients, and clients that we knew we could tell the right story for. We feel like we're. I've lived in California, I've lived in New York, but I live in North Dakota. He lives in Colorado. So we feel like we're a conduit to Middle America. We feel like Middle America often gets overlooked, isn't seen, isn't spoken to sincerely. So that's really what we want to do is tell honest stories. No matter what AI does in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we're always going to have that human spirit. And for us, it's about telling stories that connect on an emotional level, whatever it may be, honest, sincere, funny. We want to be irreverent. We want to make noise in a sea of content. You got to make positively disrupting content, but it also has to be honest. And so that's really what we focus on, is just finding the most interesting angle we can with whatever it is. So if we have Bobcat is a client of ours. They're an old company, very conservative, and we wanted to, they don't like to sway too far from what their messaging is. So we always do that. We always stick to what the company's messaging is, but we give them a little something extra. We can cut it if they don't like it, but we'll give them a little something extra. So Bobcat, a couple years ago, we had this rock popping, snow shoveling, tree digging, all these different things. It's one hardworking son of a ditch. And we're like, are they gonna like that? I don't know. And at first when we gave it to our, the client, they're like, and then they showed it to their bosses and they all loved it. So the next time we went to one of the conventions, they had son of a ditch t-shirts all over them. So to your point, sometimes you just have to trust your gut, trust your instincts. Because what I found is if I do trust that initial sort of thing, similar to what Quest and Maggie was saying, you have to react quickly and you have to trust that inner instinct, because oftentimes it's right. Sometimes it's not. But what I've learned over the last several years in working with my buddy over there, we write down what those initial instincts are and try to stay true to that. And sort of we work from that point of view. So I don't know if does that answer your question?
Yeah, super helpful.
I just rambled. Sorry about that.
Yeah, authenticity. What would you say, sorry to end on a downer question, but what's the risk with all this? What do you think, whether it's, we talked a little bit about AI in there, be fearful of it, embrace it, chasing culture, what's the risk that comes along with that, either for you as a entertainer or for a brand? What's your take on that?
I mean, it depends on what you really define what a risk is. And again, it's one of the hardest things for creatives to do is making decisions based on, we all make decisions based on, we're the last people we consider, the gut thing. And I'm also one of them. You can live life by your brain or your gut, your heart, your gut. And depending on where you come from, for me personally, having a fight or flight existence as a kid, I thought my brain was my saving grace. And really, I just started to listen to my gut maybe 5 years ago. So that said, I don't necessarily have a problem when something's a perceived failure, whatever. Yeah, now, 20 years ago, I mean, the wrong critic could, whatever, the fan will turn on you or that sort of thing. I would take it super personal, and then it would affect my entire year. But I think of life as pivots. The obstacles coming to you are pivots, and you just have to be adjustable and to have the bandwidth to not sabotage your progress. And I think it's just one step at a time. So I don't necessarily see it as a risk. Like, what if this doesn't work? Then I'll just work on something else.
Great opportunity. Maggie, any thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I think the biggest risk is just not doing it and being irrelevant. I mean, no one's talking about brands that aren't, part of the cultural conversation. And oftentimes people ask us, because we do have a bunch of these kind of reps under our belt at United, how did you guys do this? You just have to start, start with social, because a tweet has a shelf life of, 18 minutes. It doesn't have to be this big thing. Not everything is a Super Bowl commercial. So just start. The more comfortable you get with it, the better instinct you have creatively and the judgment, and kind of train that, with your team and your lawyers at your company and anyone else that might be nervous.
All right, great. Well, appreciate you guys taking the time to do this today. I think we heard a lot about the power of culture to move brands, the instincts that you need to have, the practice and discipline that you need to have to do that, the trust from your lawyers. So yeah, do you want to say something, Josh?
No, I just want to say thank you. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
did a really wonderful job.
Let's do it. Now I'm not available for selfies after this. I'm not sure about these guys, but I just want you to know I'm not available. So please, no.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna introduce. Is Mike coming up? Mike's here. Where's Mike? Here's Mike. Mike Follett from Lumen, who's been a great sponsor for us today in this event. So just want to thank him, and then hopefully everybody can stay around for cocktails for the rest of the night.